Hi, it's a pleasure to meet you. My first question is this. I get frustrated and angry when my boss assigns more work to me. I notice that I get frustrated because I don't really care for my boss nor my work, and also because, for lack of a better word, it is a pain in the ass to stay late to do more work. Working late would be great if I get properly compensated for the overtime, but this is not the case since I'm salaried. I recognize that in order to make a living, I'll need to kiss up and accept this extra work assigned, even if I don't feel like it. I've been trying to look at my situation in a more optimistic light, writing down the pros of keeping this job, but this goes down the toilet as soon as my boss gives me more work, and I tend to step back on my boss. So my question is, how can I practically change my perspective so that I won't get mad at my boss when he gives me more work?
제가 묻는 말에 대답 한번 해보세요.
All right, so I'm going to ask you questions. I want you to answer me, okay?
직장을 그만두면 되잖아요.
You can quit your job, right?
Correct. But obviously, it's obviously it's a salary that I can't let go of.
다른 데 가도 월급 받지 않습니까? 월급이 다른 데보다 조금 많습니까?
You can go somewhere
That's
else, right? Or do they pay you more than others?
Yeah, they do pay me a little bit more than other places. That's correct.
그러면 자기 지금 뭐 여기서 꼭 뭐 안 밝혀도 되지만은 얼마 받습니까?
You don't have to tell me the exact amount, but how much do you earn?
I think I made good money.
그러면 5만 불 받는 연봉 5만 불 받는 직장에 다니면서 오버타임 하면 7만 불 준다. 이게 낫습니까? 10만 불 받는 직장에 다니면서 오버타임 해도 안 주는 게 낫습니까?
So would you rather work at a place that pays you $50,000 base salary, but you can get up to $70,000 with overtime, or work for a place that pays you $100,000 per year as a base salary, but doesn't give you any overtime?
So the latter is what I'll prefer. I guess the difference is what I'm getting paid is very close to the market price. Therefore, what I'm saying is I think they're paying me market price. It's not like they're paying me a huge difference, like 50,000 to like 100,000 kind of thing. It's more like within the range of maybe 10%.
자기 같은 사람은 사장이 잘 다뤄야 합니다.
So your supervisor needs to manage you well, a person like you.
처음부터 10만 불을 주지 말고 7만 불을 주고 오버타임 하면 만 불을 더 줘서 8만 불만 주면 됩니다.
And instead of giving you 100,000 up front, he should have given you maybe 70,000 as a base salary, then 10,000 because of overtime.
그럼 자기는 아주 좋아할 거예요.
Then you'd have been very happy.
So I understand that, and as a matter of fact, I always think about that. It's not like I'm not conscious of it. I'm always conscious, and I actually, as a matter of fact, every day is almost like a prayer that I do. I actually have it in my calendar. I say, okay, this job gives me this much money compared to the other job. I'd rather keep this job. So it's something that I always kind of say in the back of my mind, or it's something that I always kind of reiterate every day. The problem is, I do know that in my mind, like I do know that, but when it comes to the point when my boss just gives me more work, as if like as if it's like as he takes it for granted, I guess then the anger kind of just rises. I see the anger rising too, and I'm actually conscious of that too, and I'm looking at it, but it's just there, and I have to respond to my boss, right? So I'm like, oh, sure, but sometimes that's you want to respond with a more positive spin, right, rather than show that you're angry or something like that. So I guess that's where I'm kind of getting at. So I know this in my head, but I just don't know how to kind of like apply it within myself so that I can totally feel like, oh, sure, like I'll be I'll be willing to go the extra mile. I'm happy to do this for you, kind of thing. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. Or maybe that's not realistic. I don't know.
네, 그렇게 해서는 해결이 안 됩니다.
You can't really solve it that way.
그 직장은 이 직장은 자신이 오버타임까지 포함해서 현재 연봉을 받는다 이렇게 봐야 됩니다.
So you have to look at the base salary you get as including any overtime.
그런데 가끔은 오버타임을 안 하고 그냥 보낼 때 오늘은 없구나 그냥 공짜다 이렇게 자꾸 생각을 하셔야 돼요.
But those days that you don't have to go overtime, you don't have to do extra work, then that's free time. So you got it off of scot-free.
그러니까 오버타임이 비정상적인 게 아니고 오버타임을 포함해서 연봉이 정해졌기 때문에 오버타임이 없는 날 웃으면서 오늘은 안 해도 되네 이렇게 관점을 가지셔야 돼요.
So getting overtime is actually the norm, it's the baseline for the conditions of your employment. So in those cases where you don't actually have to do extra work after work hours, then that's a bonus.
그러니까 관점을 이 연봉 안에는 매일 정해진 시간 외에 더 하는 오버타임까지 포함한 연봉이다. 이거를 딱 기본에 깔아야 합니다.
So basically resetting your expectations to consider that overtime is part of your base salary.
즉 오버타임을 하는 것이 정상이다. 이렇게 관점을 잡아야 된다.
And change your perspective to realize that doing overtime is actually the norm.
그러니까 오버타임까지 포함해서 10만 불이다. 10만 불이면 10만 불이다 하는 것이 연봉이 내가 괜찮나? 괜찮다. 그러면 거기 다니고 오버타임까지 포함해서 10만 불이면 내가 손해다 하면 그만두고 딴 직장을 가면 돼요.
So if 100,000K, for example, includes the overtime as a base amount, as a base expectation for the work, and if you're okay with that, stay. And if you're not, then leave.
그러면 이제 여러분 오버타임 있는 날 기분 나쁜 게 아니고 오버타임 없는 날 기분 좋은 일이 자꾸 생깁니다.
Then basically, then you don't feel angry because of overtime. Because of that shift in perspective, now you feel happy when there's no overtime.
자, 그럼 오버타임까지 포함해서 이 연봉이 지금 자기가 생각할 때 괜찮은 거예요? 오버타임까지 포함해서는 아니야. 이건 너무 낮아. 딴 데로 가야 되겠어. 이렇게 됩니까?
So is the current salary good enough for you when you consider overtime as part of the default expectation, or maybe it's too low if you consider overtime and you need to go somewhere else?
Yeah, so I get it. I see where he's going. So I mean, I think it makes sense. I guess the difference is a lot of times I know this in my head, but maybe it's just, I don't know. It's great that he brought this up, and I'll probably meditate on this and think through it. I think I need some time to digest it also. But I think many times I know these things that he's saying in my head, but a lot of time it's just, like when that happens, when that moment comes, it is not very easy to think that way and feel positive, I guess. So I guess that's kind of like another issue that it's easier being said than done, I guess, thinking this way and not reacting as such.
인간의 마음이 어떻게 일어나는지 제가 잠깐 설명해 드릴게요.
So I'll give you a little primer on how our mind reacts.
제가 지금 질문자에게 1,000불을 준다 하면 그냥 1,000불을 준다 하면 기분 좋을까요? 기분 안 좋을까요?
Say I just offered you $1,000 without any condition. Would you feel good or not?
I'll feel good.
근데 그거를 한 번만 안 주고 매달 준다 하면 기분이 더 좋겠죠.
And if I say I'm going to give it to you every month, then you feel better, right?
That's correct.
그러면 첫 번째 받았을 때하고 두 번째 받았을 때하고 세 번째 받았을 때하고 1년 후에 받았을 때하고 기분 좋음이 같을까, 높아질까, 낮아질까?
So the first time you receive it, you feel good. The second month, you feel still good. But, after 12 months, what's the level of, feeling good compared to the first month?
It will decrease.
그러면 그것을 3년 계속 주면 어떨까?
So say I give you $1,000 a month for 3 years.
It will decrease throughout those 3 years.
근데
더 많은 돈을 줬는데 왜 떨어집니까?
But I gave you more money. So and then why would your happiness decrease?
Because you take it for granted.
이게 내가 그것을 정상으로 받아들여 버린 거예요. 당연하게 정상적으로 주는 것이 정상이다. 이렇게 받아들여 버린 거예요.
Yes, exactly. You took it for granted and you normalized that as your default expectation.
근데 이게 기분이 점점 떨어지는 것뿐 정도 아니고 한 3년 지나면 아직도 1,000불밖에 안 주나? 이렇게 반발이 생기는 거예요.
So it's not the matter after 3 years, it's not like your happiness decreasing. You actually start getting angry about only getting $1,000 a month.
그러니까 좋음에서 나쁨으로까지 바뀔 수도 있습니다. 돈은 받으면서.
So you can actually shift from good to bad, although you're getting the same amount of money.
그러면 이제 2,000불을 준다. 그러면 기분이 또 좋아지겠죠.
Then if I raise that to $2,000 a month, then you'll feel good again.
시간이 지나면 또 마찬가지예요.
But the same thing happens after a while.
왜냐하면 우리들의 머리는 그것을 미리 예측하고 그것을 일반화시켜 버리는 그런 작용이 있습니다.
Because our mind always takes something new and normalizes as part of default expectations.
이것은 이 뇌 작용이 모든 것에 작용합니다.
And this function happens to everything we encounter.
처음에 어떤 분이 저한테 커피를 한 잔 갖다 준다. 감사합니다. 이렇게 됩니다.
So when somebody offers me the first time a cup of coffee, I go, thank you.
근데 매일 계속됩니다.
And he gives it to me every day.
그러면 이것이 점점 감퇴합니다.
And then my sense of gratitude decreases.
어느 날 안 갖다 주면 화를 냅니다.
Then one day he skips out, then I get angry.
왜 안 줘? 이렇게 됩니다.
Then why don't you give it to me? Why not coffee today?
이런 심리 현상 때문에 사랑하는 사람 사이에 갈등이 생기고 자기가 좋아해서 직장에 들어가 놓고 직장 때문에 괴로움이라는 게 생기는 거예요.
And because of this reaction that we all naturally have in our minds, that's why we suffer. We create conflicts among loved ones. And we suffer because even though we got the job we wanted.
그래서 이 문제를 해결하려면 잃어봐야 한다. 그것이 단절돼 봐야 돼.
So to resolve this situation, we have to experience a loss.
그러니까 아내가 떠나봐야 아내 고마운 줄을 알고
The loved ones has to leave us in order for us to feel gratitude again.
부모가 돌아가셔야 고마운 줄 알고
And we feel appreciation for our parents only when they're gone.
직장을 잃어봐야 고마운 줄을 안다.
And we realize how precious that job was once we get fired.
그러니까 자기가 잃지 않고 이 고마운 줄을 알면 유지가 되고 자기가 이 불만을 계속 가지고 있으면 곧 직장을 잃게 됩니다.
So if you can maintain the sense of gratitude without experiencing loss, then you can stay. But if you don't, then you're bound to lose it.
그러면 그것이 짜증날 일이 아니었구나 하는 걸 이제 자각하게 되는 거예요.
Then you realize at that moment of loss that this wasn't something I should have been so angry about.
자기만 아니라 이 세상 일이 다 그렇습니다.
It's not just you, right? That this is the natural psychology of everybody.
그래서 우리가 화를 자초한다고 말하는 거예요.
That's why, we bring it onto ourselves.
그래서 남이 나를 해치는 게 아니라 내가 늘 이렇게 괴로움을, 화를, 어떤 재앙을 스스로 이렇게 끌어들이는 거예요.
So it's not others causing us harm. It's us actually causing ourselves harm.
건강을 잃고 난 뒤에 건강에 병원에 가서 치료받으면서 건강해야지 하는 게 낫겠어요? 잃지 않는 게 낫겠어요?
So would you rather regret the loss of your health after you're getting treatment for it, or stay healthy in the first place?
The latter.
그렇다면 자기가 지금 이거 고마운 줄을 아는 확실한 지금 탁 깨우침이 있어야 인생의 변화입니다. 이 직장뿐만 아니라 앞으로 결혼하면 인간관계도 그렇고 모든 세상 일에 다 이것이 그대로 적용되고 있습니다.
So this applies to everything and every situation you will encounter in your life. So you need to experience this moment of enlightenment and open your eyes to gratitude for the current situation.
그러니까 자기 그 직장에 들어갈 때 처음 기뻤습니다.
And as if you're entering this employment for the first time.
그러나 그것이 일상이 돼버렸습니다.
But, then you normalize that expectation.
앞으로 계속 뭘 더 줘야 고마움을 느낍니다.
And your gratitude, you only feel thankful when they give you a little bit more.
그러니까 자기의 잘못이라기보다는 우리들의 이 심리, 이 정신 현상이 그렇습니다.
So it's not your fault per se, it's the fault of our native psychology.
그래서 이런 이치를 알았어. 우리는 이걸 극복을 해야 된다. 뛰어넘어야 된다.
But once you know this, you can overcome this.
그래서 제가 기준을 조금 낮추라는 거예요.
That's why I'm saying lowering your expectations is good.
그러니까 그 오버타임까지 포함한 연봉이다. 이렇게 기준을 정해라는 거예요.
So basically, now your default expectations for your work, for your salary is includes overtime.
그러면 자기는 오버타임 없는 날 늘 기분 좋게 회사를 나올 수가 있다.
Then those days that you don't actually have overtime, you'll always be happy as you get off work.
그리고
That makes
오버타임까지 포함한 돈으로는 이게 부족하다 하면 직장을 옮기면 됩니다.
But if you think that salary is not enough to account for the overtime as a norm, then you can move your job.
손해를 볼 필요는 없습니다.
You don't have to, stay in a loss-losing situation.
희생을 강요하는 것은 아닙니다.
I'm not saying that you need to sacrifice yourself.
지금 내가 잘못 판단을 해서 나중에 후회할 거를 지금 방지하기 위한 것입니다.
What I'm trying to do is give you the tool necessary for you to prevent regrets later on.
Agreed.
네, 그러니까 이런 이치를 먼저 알고 그래도 안 되는 거는 이제 작은 문제.
And once you know the underlying condition, right, the principle of how your mind works, if it still doesn't work for you, but that's a lesser problem.
그것은 이제 습관이기 때문에 그 이제 시간을 두고 이제 다시 이제 풀어나가야 합니다.
Because that is really a matter of the habit of your mind. So you need some time for you to kind of mitigate and change those habits.
그러니까 앞으로 화가 탁 날 때, 이거는 연봉에 포함된 일이야. 이렇게 딱 생각을 돌려야 됩니다.
And once you get angry and the boss asks you for extra work, then catch yourself and realize, no, this is included in my normal expectation.
그러니까 화를 안 내야지, 참아야지, 좋게 해야지 이렇게 하지 말고 이거 연봉에 포함된 일이야. 이렇게 관점을 잡아야 돼요.
So instead of trying to suppress your anger and tell yourself not to get angry, not to express, not to snap back, realize that, remind yourself, no, this is included in my expectations.
그리고 그 보스는 아마 자기가 생각할 때는 월급을 좀 많이 준다고 생각하기 때문에 이 정도 일은 네가 해야 된다 이렇게 아마 생각할 거예요. 대화를 해보면.
And if you speak to your boss, the boss might think that he might be paying you above market. That's why he feels okay giving you this extra work.
그래서 그 사람은 아무 문제의식이 없이 그래 주는 거예요.
And that's why he doesn't feel guilty about giving you this, extra work.
Agreed.
네.
Yeah, I think it was great. I think this was great. The only, I guess, fear that I have is that Um, I fear that maybe like a year from now, I may still not be grateful knowing all these things. So like at this moment, I can see how this can help me, but I'm afraid that a year from now, or maybe 3 years from now, I'm not sure if I'm gonna, keep this level of, graciousness. I don't know, like appreciation. So I guess that's the only thing that I'm fearful. I feel like it's like candy, it wears off through time. But hopefully that's not the case.
내일 또 안 돼도 내일 또 새로 하고 모레 안 되면 모레 또 시작하고 이러면 되지. 지금 벌써 뭐 1년 후 생각하는 그게 당신 병이에요.
So your problem is thinking too far ahead, right? If it doesn't work tomorrow, then you start over. Doesn't work the day after tomorrow, then you try again. You don't have to worry about how your state of mind will be 3 years from now.
안 될 확률이 90%예요.
Because likewise, 90%, you won't be at the same state, right?
그러니까 안 된 게 안 돼도 정상이니까 크게 상처받을 필요 없습니다.
Right. So if you don't keep the same mindset 3 years from now, that actually is the normal state of being. So you don't have to get hurt by it or disappointed.
네, 안 되면 그때 또 와서 물으세요.
And if it doesn't happen 3 years from now, you can ask me the same question again.
네, 인생에는 언제나 길이 있습니다.
Because there's always an option, a path open to you, no
근데-
matter where you are in your life.
근데 오늘 듣고 10%의 기적을 이루면 더 좋고요.
But if today's session helps you overcome that and you are part of that 10% exception, that's better.
네,
Great.
그다음
Thank you.